You know, there's times when we talk about willful blindness. Willful blindness being a deliberate attempt to not notice something. But sometimes it's not that obvious, and you might have experienced that a time or two. But think about a personal experience. It just happened to me, if you don't mind me sharing the story. But I had this experience where I met this woman, and she wanted to pick my brain. And I'm pretty open to doing that in my business. There's a lot of people really want to understand how to run a professional speaking business. And so there's some unique challenges with it. And I openly, warmly said I'd be happy to do that. Instead of booking an appointment, she assumed that I would just clear the deck and make myself available. But that wasn't my assumption. This is where we start to see willful blindness happening between people. That we each have a different expectation, and I think this happens in a lot of relationships. But let me finish this story. So she contacts me the day that I'm arriving into town to find out if I'll drive all over the city to meet her where it's more convenient for her. Because that's obviously where she's going to be. So if I'm willing to give of my time for a coffee or a glass of wine, why wouldn't I be willing to drive all over the city? But now understand what my expectation would be. I'm extending free time for you, not a client visit, not a paid visit, but a generosity of spirit on my part. So I'm actually becoming somewhat offended by the requests. At which point I send this woman a text and I say, listen, you know, I have a very busy client load with a lot of people who are trying to see me. If you want to have a conversation with me, I'm happy to have it, but you need to come to my office. Where I was then told that if I needed to juggle my time, that was completely unacceptable. After all, she was so inspired by me. At which point on the text, she put an emoticon of the emoticon throwing up. At what point, when you submitted the text send, did you think that that would be okay? You see, this is where willful blindness shows up. That we're so focused on what's good for us that we fail to realize what the person we're making the ask of might actually want from us. So if I could give you one tip, when you want something from an expert, and this comes from the pages of Jim Rohn, take them to an expensive dinner, your treat. You pay for it. Here's what you get. They are willing to go. It's going to cost you some money. It would anyway. But now you respect their time and you appreciate the generosity of it. Take them to dinner. You're guaranteed to have salad, guaranteed to have a main course, and likely some kind of dessert or an after-dinner drink. You can stretch a dinner into 3 hours and get 3 hours of free coaching in whatever it is you're looking for. But the minute you send an emoticon that is someone throwing up, their desire to help you diminishes. So that's my tip for today. Find a way to extend generosity, to appreciate somebody's time. The moment that you get offended because somebody doesn't want to give you free expertise and information for the cost of a cup of coffee, stop and ask yourself, is your ask reasonable, or are you just being willfully blind?